welcome to Retech, and today we're going to look at the BBC Micro. And the original idea was to run some Midi style software on a BBC Model B, but as you can see it kind of hasn't quite gone to plan, because the BBC Model B I have here and the one underneath have both basically refused to start up, and this is because they've been in storage, basically in hibernation for probably the best part of a year since they were last used. And there's obviously a problem with either a chip's gone bad or capacitors blown. I haven't really looked at them yet, but they've both got very similar problems. The top one I have had a look at because it needs a recap on the power supply, even though there's no obvious leakage, no bad signs from the original. But plugging in my refurbished supply, it actually works. It comes to life. It's a little noisy, which I've got to find out why, but you know, it does actually work. The BBC just down here in the almost empty case is a spare machine anyway, so these are my two working models, or were. The one underneath was absolutely immaculate, but it won't fire up at all now, and it's not the power supply, so I just need to find out what's going on with them. But first, what I'm going to do is make this one an immaculate model. Obviously I'm going to the extreme of putting in a refurbished power supply. I'll check everything else out, and then we'll hopefully make sure that everything works the way it should, and then we'll get on to the second one probably after we've done the video about the MIDI or the sound system on this. But let's get at least one of these models working properly. Okay, so let's take a look. So this machine is the dead BBC B, and this was an absolutely immaculate machine with an immaculate keyboard, and everything on this machine worked the way it should have done until it was kind of put into hibernation for about a year. And I can see by looking at it we do have a leak, and there's also quite a lot of residue around this board on this end. So it looks to me like this machine has had some kind of leakage while it's been in storage. So rather than have an immaculate machine that's dead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take this machine apart, take this board out, mark it up to be repaired, have a look at it later, and then get one machine working. So this is what I'm going to do now. So the first thing is we're just going to, well, we've disconnected the power supply, and I know this power supply works because we've basically seen it running. That's the old power supply on this side, which I've just popped into place, and that's proved that this board is dead. So we're going to take this machine apart. So the keyboard's going to come out, and we're going to use this keyboard and this case to make an immaculate machine. So first part, we're going to take this keyboard away, and then we're going to start unscrewing this board out of this case. It's making sure that all of the correct wires are still there. I have tried to have this running, but it doesn't really want to know, so let's take it apart. So all you have to do is take out a few screws from the system board. There's literally one here, one here, one here, and then there's another two across the back. And then there's to unscrew the little BNC connector at the back here, so that needs to come out. And then all you need to do is lift the board out. Okay, the biggest thing you're going to have to do is to reattach or resolder the BNC wire on, basically to make it work. Now, having a close look at this board, you can actually see where the problem is. You can see it's all kind of very, very strange, dirty, musty colour here, and you can actually see, you might not be able to, you can see little bits of metal coming off on my finger. I would say that this is causing the problem. It needs to be cleaned and tested and then find out what the issue is. But it's unusual for it to be a resistor that's failed. Probably one of these two here, but I'll find out once I take it apart and get the tester on it and find out what's going on with it, because it looks like it's not getting a 5-volt feed to reset the machine, which is quite odd. There's no other traces of issues with the board that I can see from a kind of physical inspection, but it looks like the problem's around this area here, where there's actually a lot of, I'm not sure if it's leakage or something's given up the ghost and popped, because there's a lot of residue around this area here. Be very kind of unlikely to be a resistor, although it possibly could if it's, but I can't see anything that's physically disintegrated. There's very little else on this entire board that could be causing a problem. I mean, there's two, yeah, it looks like we've had some, and it also looks like we've had some leakage just here as well, and I think it might have started corroding the board. So going to have a quick look at that, because that's happened within the last 12 months. So again, that's to be looked at a little later, so we'll take a look at that as we go. Okay, so we've got an empty case. We're going to swap the board into this case from the machine that had the original power supply fault, which has all been done and recapped and put into here as a test, and this one works. So again, to do that, we're going to swap this board out and make a nice machine, and then fix the other one as we need to. So again, it's just taking the screws out. Okay, and once everything's clear again, it's just a case of lifting it out. So push it forward and lift it out. Okay, then we'll just remove this case, because this isn't going to be the one we're going to be using, and we're going to use this nice clean unmolested case, so it's the right colour, there's no fading on it, so it'll make a nice machine. So again, we're going to slide it in. And we're going to pop the BNC connector back into place, and we'll solder it once we're done. Okay, and we'll just leave this out the back for the second, because I'll solder it on once it's into place and we know it's working. So we're just going to reattach the board to the case very quickly. So making sure you put these on over each screw at each step, the little plastic collar, because we don't want anything earthing out on the board. And all that remains to be done is to wire up this, so wiring up this. So just double checking, we have 2 pins in between here. You got 4 rows here, and in between these 4 rows of chips, ICs, you've got two pins. The inside one is the red, so we've got plus and a negative on here, so 0 volts going here. They are marked up, so just take your time and be careful that you're actually doing it properly. Okay, next you got IC4, which is here, which is your positive at the top, and opposite you have a negative, which is just on the opposite side of this IC here. Then you have two more, and basically they go on to the pins right in the corner here, which is just below this spare. So on here you have again a positive on the top and a 0 volts rail on the bottom. And then the purple wire goes just in this corner here. Which is on there. And then basically you should have it wired up. So you've got 0 volts, plus, 0 and plus, and you've got plus and 0. Again on this side you've got plus and 0, and then you've got your purple, which is your 5 volt line. That's the one that does the restart. It's the 5 volt line which does the reset on the computer, which is almost the same as like hitting brake, because I think that's linked to the 5 volt line as well. So this is your computer all set up. Now the next thing we really want is a keyboard, so we're going to use the good keyboard, which is this one. It's absolutely immaculate. The keyboard here is what came off of it, and this is what's going on. I mean, it's not far away, but you can tell that this keyboard here is slightly brighter. Not by much, but if we're going to do it, we're going to use the best parts possible. And there we have it. One BBC machine kind of sort of plugged back together. So the first thing we've got to do is basically start securing the parts, like the keyboard, and then we're going to solder up this wire on the back of here as well. So we'll do that in a second. So there's a couple of keyboard screws, and they're literally nuts and bolts. Wasn't particularly refined really. We've just got a couple of nuts and bolts here, and it's the same on this side just here, so it's just from underneath. They don't have to be tight, they're just finger tight, which should be suffice, because it's only holding the keyboard in place until you put the cover on. Next thing, we're just going to solder up this wire, and so once it's all back together again, it's just literally a case of popping a case on. And again, I'll show you the reason why I'm using this case. Actually, this was the case from the live machine, the one that's actually working now with the board that's in there, and it's not in bad condition. But this is the dead machine case. Now you can see the difference in colour straight away. This one's been stored really nice in the past, and it's in very, very good condition, which is why we're going to use it on this machine. And then all we need to do now is to give it a quick wipe over, and then basically put the screws in the back, and then you have one immaculate BBC computer. So that's one saved. Sounds quite good. You got a little hiss from the speaker, but that's normal. That's normal with every power supply. You can quieten it down, but you know, if you know these machines, then you're kind of used to it. It's one of those things. So yeah, this is an immaculate BBC Micro. Proper colour, hasn't faded, nice condition. Okay, so you can see things now and again don't ever go to plan. We have a BBC Micro fully working in very, very good condition. It's had a temporary board swap until I can find out what the problem was with the original board was. It's got the same issue board in, it's got the same everything. It's just that I want really to keep it 100% original. So once I find out what the issue with the other board was, I believe it kind of looks like it's the 5-volt line, but I'm going to do a little bit of a video on that as soon as I get a chance. So things really sometimes don't go to plan, so I'm hoping that the next episode with the BBC will go a lot smoother. And really the reason I put this video out is because people have to kind of, I keep saying it, understand that when you have these machines, be prepared to repair them, because they are getting old now. They're starting to fail, and they'll fail from one day to the next. I mean, this one wasn't turned on for about 12 months, and when it came to use it, it didn't want to work. So luckily I've got a good machine here in an immaculate, unmolested, kind of really clean case. It hasn't got any school notes scrawled in it or anything like that, like a lot of these BBC Micros did have. So yep, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll try and get the proper episode going shortly for the music side of it, and we'll also do an episode on repairing the original board for this. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.